Beyond Freedom and Dignity by B.F. Skinner. In trying to solve the terrifying problems that face us in the world today, we play from strength, and our strength is science and technology. We can point to remarkable achievements in these fields, and it is not surprising that we should try to extend them. But things grow steadily worse, and it is disheartening to find that technology itself is increasingly at fault. Sanitation and medicine have made the problems of population more acute. War has acquired a new horror with the invention of nuclear weapons, and the affluent pursuit of happiness is largely responsible for pollution. Whether or not he could have foreseen the damage, man must repair it or all is lost. The application of the physical and biological sciences alone will not solve our problems because the solutions lie in another field. In short, we need to make vast changes in human behavior. It is not enough to use technology with a deeper understanding of human issues, or to dedicate technology to man's spiritual needs, or to encourage technologists to look at human problems. What we need is a technology of behavior. We could solve our problems quickly enough if we could adjust the growth of the world's population as precisely as we adjust the course of a spaceship, or move toward a peaceful world with something like the steady progress with which physics has approached absolute zero. As to technology, we have made immense strides in controlling the physical and biological worlds, but our practices in government, education, and much of economics have not greatly improved. It can always be argued that human behavior is a particularly difficult field. It is, and we are especially likely to think so just because we are so inept in dealing with it. Was putting a man on the moon actually easier than improving education in our public schools, or than constructing better kinds of living space for everyone, or than making it possible for everyone to be gainfully employed? The exciting thing about getting to the moon was its feasibility. Science and technology had reached the point at which, with one great push, the thing could be done. There is no comparable excitement about the problems posed by human behavior. We are not close to solutions. Human behavior is still commonly attributed to indwelling agents. A juvenile delinquent is said, for example, to be suffering from a disturbed personality. Psychoanalysts have identified three of these personalities: the ego, the superego, and id. And interactions among them are said to be responsible for the behavior of the man in whom they dwell. Behavior is still attributed to human nature, and there is an extensive psychology of individual differences in which people are compared and described in terms of traits of character, capacities, and abilities. We are told that to control the number of people in the world, we need to change attitudes toward children, overcome pride in size of family or in sexual potency, build some sense of responsibility toward offspring. To work for peace, we must deal with the will to power, the paranoia delusions of leaders, and that man is aggressive by nature. To solve the problems of the poor, we must inspire self-respect, encourage initiative, and reduce frustration. To allay the disaffection of the young, we must provide a sense of purpose and reduce feelings of alienation and hopelessness. This is staple fare. Almost no one questions it, and that fact may well explain why a science and a technology of behavior have been so long delayed. The dimensions of the world of the mind and the transition from one world to another do raise embarrassing problems, but it is usually possible to ignore them. And this may be good strategy, for the important objection to mentalism is of a very different sort. The world of the mind steals the show. Behavior is not recognized as a subject in its own right. The disturbing things a person does or says are almost always regarded merely as symptoms. Compared with the fascinating dramas which are staged in the depths of the mind, behavior itself seems superficial indeed. In political science, theology, and economics, Behavior is usually regarded as the material from which one infers attitudes, intentions, needs, and so on. For more than 2,500 years, close attention has been paid to mental life, but only recently has any effort been made to study human behavior as something more than a mere byproduct. A long time ago, William James corrected a prevailing view of the relation between feelings and action by asserting, for example, that we do not run away because we are afraid, but we are afraid because we run away. In other words, what we feel when we feel afraid is our behavior. The psychotherapist learns about the early life of his patient almost exclusively from the patient's memories, which are known to be unreliable. And he may even argue that what is important is not what actually happened, but what the patient remembers. We attribute a person's behavior to a person we cannot see, whose behavior we cannot explain either, but about whom we are not inclined to ask questions. The task of a scientific analysis is to explain how the behavior of a person as a physical system is related to the conditions under which the human species evolved and the conditions under which the individual lives. Unless there is indeed some capricious or creative intervention, these events must be related. Our age is not suffering from anxiety, but from the accidents, crimes, wars, and other dangerous and painful things to which people are so often exposed. Young people drop out of school, refuse to get jobs, and associate only with others of their own age, not because they feel alienated, but because of defective social environments in homes, schools, factories, and elsewhere. Descartes first suggested that the environment might play an active role in the determination of behavior, and he was apparently able to do so only because he was given a strong hint. He knew about certain automata, or mechanical figures in the royal gardens of France, which were operated hydraulically by concealed valves. As Descartes described it, people entering the gardens necessarily tread on certain tiles or plates, which are so disposed that if they approach a bathing Diana, they cause her to hide in the rose bushes, and if they try to follow her, they cause a Neptune to come forward to meet them, threatening them with his trident. The figures were entertaining just because they behaved like people, and it appeared that something very much like human behavior could be explained mechanically. Descartes took the hint. Living organisms might move for similar reasons. The triggering action of the environment came to be called a stimulus, the effect on an organism a response, and together they were said to compose a reflex. Descartes' hypothesis held a dominant position in behavior theory for a long time, but it was a false scent from which scientific analysis is only now recovering. The environment not only prods or lashes, it selects. It is now clear that we must take into account what the environment does to an organism not only before, but after it responds. Behavior is shaped and maintained by its consequences. Once this fact is recognized, we can formulate the interaction between organism and environment in a much more comprehensive way. There are two important results. Behavior which operates upon the environment to produce consequences, operant behavior, can be studied by arranging environments in which specific consequences are contingent upon it. The second result is practical. The environment can be manipulated. Man's genetic endowment can be changed only very slowly, but changes in the environment of the individual have quick and dramatic effects. That possibility raises another problem. We have moved forward by dispossessing autonomous man, but he has not departed gracefully. He can marshal formidable support. He is still an important figure in political science, law, religion, economics, and family life. Two features of autonomous man are particularly troublesome. In the traditional view, a person is free. He is autonomous. He can therefore be held responsible for what he does and justly punished if he offends. Despite this, Theologians have accepted that man must be predestined to do what an omniscient God knows he will do. Soothsayers and astrologers often claim to predict what men will do. Montaigne and Bacon imply some kind of predictability in human conduct. Autonomous man survives in the face of all this because he is the happy exception. Theologians have reconciled predestination with free will, and the Greek audience, moved by the portrayal of an inescapable destiny, walked out of the theater free men. On the other hand, Freudians have no hesitation in assuring their patients that they are the architects of their own destinies. This escape route is slowly closed as new evidences of the predictability of human behavior are discovered. Joseph Woodcrutch acknowledged, "We can predict with a considerable degree of accuracy how many people will go to the seashore on a given day, even how many will jump off a bridge." By questioning the autonomous man and demonstrating the control exercised by the environment, a science of behavior also seems to question dignity or worth. A person is responsible for his behavior, not only in the sense that he may be justly blamed or punished when he behaves badly, but also in the sense that he is to be given credit and admired for his achievements. A scientific analysis shifts the credit as well as the blame to the environment. As the emphasis shifts to the environment, the individual seems to be exposed to a new kind of danger. Who is to construct the controlling environment, and to what end? Freedom, dignity, and value are major issues, and unfortunately, they become more crucial as the power of a technology of behavior becomes more nearly commensurate with the problems to be solved. Until these issues are resolved, a technology of behavior will continue to be rejected, and with it possibly the only way to solve our problems.